21 years ago, I was in Kobe. I lived in Osaka, but commuting to Kobe for a part-time job, preparing for the study abroad. Then a half month later, after I went to the US, I heard sad news in Kobe. Many of my colleagues suffered from this Hanshin earthquake. Then I tried to help from the US, but I couldn't do anything as a poor student. So that was a big memory for me. Then 10 years later, I was working in the UN as introduced, and ISDR helped hosting this Second World Conference on Disaster Recession. So I was in Kobe. Then I associated with many of you, former Vice Governor Saito, and many of you are associated. So then later, 20 years later, I'm now in Sendai. But 2-3 years ago, I experienced this huge disaster in Tohoku as an escape person, but I took a summer vacation, spent some of the work in Tohoku, then I determined to come back to Japan to be able to help for preparing for the Third World Conference. So the Second World Conference and Third World Conference I have been associated. And I'm happy to talk about something related to the World Conference, but first, I really thank the Hyogo Prefecture, the Kobe City, and people of Hyogo and the Kansai region to help the disaster victims and disaster affected areas in Tohoku after this 2011. And I also, same time, congratulate the International Recovery Platform's success and a decadal anniversary, and looking forward to a further development. After the Hanshin earthquake, the many good agencies developed in Kobe. The WHO, the OCHA, ISDR, of course ADRC. ADRC is before the World Conference, but many the Kobe became the hub for the disaster recession. On the contrary, in Sendai, our economy in Japan is not as rosy as before, so we don't think we can afford to develop such a good institute or something. But instead, we are thinking of something else. We commit for the IRP to provide inputs from our university and IRIDES on the lessons learned, good practices on the recovery process in the Tohoku region. So this is our commitment to IRP again. One slide talking about IRIDES, the International Research Institute of Disaster Science. We were established 1 year after the Tohoku earthquake, just 1 year after. So it was very quick. This is one of the major recovery efforts done by the government of Japan, supplied money to our institute. Two major universities in Japan have a good disaster research institute, Tokyo University and Kyoto University, the big institute, very good one. But those are developed after large disasters. The one was in Kanto earthquake, and the Kyoto University was a typhoon. So ours developed after the tsunami. But we are not only doing the tsunami recovery, tsunami research. We are really a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary, or the transdisciplinary, if you want. The natural science, engineering, human, social, economic, and medical. Many areas, 37 areas of research and 7 divisions. So we are still working on it, but we want to provide practical research outcomes to the affected area in Tohoku and also other parts of Japan or the world. And we have titled international, so we have to do work on it internationally. Then we have about 70 full-time staff members and assisting people. There are almost 140 or 150 people in total. So it quickly became one of the largest and comprehensive disaster research institute. For the commitment to the Third World Conference and disaster recession, what will be developed in Sendai? Of course, we are making, the government is negotiating now for the post-HFA for 2015 framework. That's coming, But what will be developed in Sendai besides that? Or just a new international conference center? So this is a question. Then we would like to provide, whether money is coming from government or any sources or whatever, we would like to do 2 things. One is we helped, guided, and supported the numerical targets, which is not in the current HFA, but the new framework will have a component on the targets. We couldn't agree in Kobe, but we will agree on this one, hopefully in March in this year. Then the 5 and +2 targets. I don't want to talk about the details, but the 7 targets are under negotiated now. Last week and this week, and just the cabinet office, Mr. Saito just came back from Geneva for negotiation, so we may hear more on this. But for this supporting these targets, numerical targets, what is needed? We do not have, many countries do not have a disaster statistics, data statistics. How, the number of people killed by disaster, affected by disasters, injured by disasters, or economic losses and so on. Japan has it, but many other countries do not have it. Then, I know here's Joe in UNDP is here. The UNDP has been working a lot on this issue, and this inventor and so on. I was in this field for more than 10 years. I know the progress in disaster statistics very well from my STL period. And still, many countries need to develop this one. Otherwise, how can country make a policy without knowing what's going on in their country for the exact number of loss and so on? So this is very fundamental, and also now the current SDG development and negotiation is ongoing. And what would be the measure for the disaster, the impacts? So this measure, the disaster damage statistics, loss statistics is needed. So working with UNDP and perhaps other partners like ADRC, we would like to provide analytical, technical analytical backstop center in Tohoku University. So we plan to develop something like international disaster damage data loss center in our university. So that's our pre-commitment. We don't know what this will happen or not, but I'd like to pre-commit for that. The second one, the International Forum on Bosai, or the DRR. There is one entity in Switzerland, the Davos, the Global Risk Forum, which is combining the academia, practitioners, private sector, and government and UN, working and coming together to talk about this forum. And every August, in 2 years, every 2 years to be held in Davos. So we may want to associate with them and to have after Sendai conference. If we don't do anything, the Sendai will be just one big firework. Then that's it. But we want to continue, like IRP has been doing for 10 years of doing this work. We would like to provide a wider scope at a periodical multi-stakeholders forum in Sendai and other maybe tsunami-affected area. So we're talking with many partners now, but I think this is still an idea, so we need to follow up on this. So those are 2 pre-commitments from our end for the successful meeting in Sendai. So I look forward to seeing you in Sendai. Thank you very much.